Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'd like to start by sharing with you about Hayden and his mom, Rebecca, from my community. Hayden was born with Cornelia de Lange syndrome, with epilepsy and microcephaly. As a child, he and Rebecca had access to various supports, including the disability tax credit and assistance for children with severe disabilities. His mom describes him as the smiliest, happiest, chattiest boy. When he turned 18, though, the supports his mom received dropped off like a cliff. The first 3 months while waiting for the Ontario Disability Support Program, actually, they had no support at all. And then when ODSP did kick in, with nothing provided retroactively, it provided not nearly enough. And very little supplemental for Hayden's additional needs. As an example, Hayden required a particularly special diet for which they put in a request for an additional $1,000 a month, a request which was never approved. His mom, as a result, then had to go about making impossible choices about what had to go and what could stay. For example, cans of Insure, for example, a necessary supplement for Hayden's diet, were ratcheted way back. Hayden went downhill fast. Within a year, this past December, Hayden passed away. His mom describes her relationship with various government entities like being in an abusive relationship. She shared with me all she wanted were basic human rights. There weren't enough funds provided even for a funeral, so they had a simple visitation instead. From this, Rebecca still owes $3,000, and she's slowly paying it down. As a country, we've let Hayden down. We let Rebecca down. And there are so many others across the country. In fact, Rebecca herself has spoken with 4 other parents, each with similar devastating stories. We could choose to do so much better for them and for all Canadians across the country with disabilities. It's why the Canada Disability Benefit is so critical, a guaranteed livable income for Canadians with disabilities. It's no wonder it's already supported by 89% of Canadians. Is there much of anything that 89% of us can all agree on? And we know that it's Canadians with disabilities who are disproportionately living in poverty across the country. Over 40% of those living in poverty would be brought up through this support. And so we need to not only fast-track the Canada Disability Benefit, but ensure that Canadians with disabilities are involved every step of the way. And as we've been hearing, not only from individuals and organizations in my community, but folks right across the country, a recent petition that secured almost 18,000 signatories, each of which are just looking for a glimmer of hope. And so my question to the Minister again tonight is, can they share the progress made in working to fast-track the Canada Disability Benefit? Because as Rebecca would say, everybody has a Hayden. And every day we wait for the Canada Disability Benefit, we risk losing another Hayden. This legislation would save lives, and it's far past time we get it done. Thank you.
Honourable Parliamentary Secretary to the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Diversity Inclusion.
Well, thank you very much. And the tragic story of Hayden and Rebecca hurts all of our hearts deeply, Mr. Speaker. And this story is the center of our work. It's what drives our work each and every single day. I want to thank my friend and colleague, the member for Kitchener Centre, for his question. He raises the important issue of how the Government of Canada is supporting our most vulnerable. Je peux affirmer sans équivoque.
I can say unequivocally that we are committed to creating the Canadian benefit for people living with a disability.
On December 16, 2021, the Minister of Employment, Workforce Development and Disability Inclusion was instructed to move forward with our campaign platform commitment for the design, introduction, and implementation of a Canada Disability Benefit Act and Canada Disability Benefit for low-income working age persons with disabilities. The need for this benefit is clear. Despite the progress that has been made in recent years, Canadians with disabilities continue to face persistent barriers to full economic and social participation. Prior to the pandemic, the 2017 Canadian Survey on Disability painted a troubling picture of economic disparity. At the time of the survey, working age Canadians with disabilities were over 2 times as likely to be living in poverty than the general population, 21% to 11%. And the situation is even worse for those with more severe disabilities, women, Indigenous peoples, LGBTQ2, and racialized Canadians with disabilities. Over the past year, the global pandemic has highlighted and exacerbated the entrenched inequities faced by Canadians with disabilities. A recent survey tabled by this very member for Kitchener Centre showed that 2/3 of respondents with disabilities indicated that they were having difficulties meeting their financial obligations or essential needs as a result of the pandemic. A survey garnering almost 18,000 signatures, might I add, Mr. Speaker. The Canada Disability Benefit would address these inequities head on. It would reduce poverty and support the financial security of working aged persons with disabilities. But Mr. Speaker, we can't say much yet about some of the specific aspects of the benefit, and that is because we want to engage provinces and territories to ensure the benefit supplements rather than replaces existing benefits and income. And in the spirit of nothing without us, we are engaging persons with disabilities and the disability community directly in the design of the benefits. Cela est essentiel.
This is essential.
De handicap sont les mieux placés.
Canadians living with a disability, are the best placed to understand the economic obstacles that they're facing.
Ils ont besoin pour atteindre la sécurité financière.
And to understand the support measures they need to achieve financial security. We know that Canadians living with a disability are looking forward for this benefit to be in place, and we now have a golden opportunity to move forward with a recovery after the pandemic that is truly inclusive of people living with a disability.
Again, for his important question and for his advocacy on behalf of his constituents and on behalf of Hayden and Rebecca and their legacy. Thank you.
The honourable member for Kitchener Centre.
Well, thank you to the Parliamentary Secretary for those kind words. My question in reply is simply when. We know that the previous Bill C-35 was introduced in the last parliamentary session 2 months before the election. In the time since, 43 senators have joined the call and signed on saying, can we please fast track this critical support? And so knowing there is so much existing support within the governing party, knowing that there is support in the other place, and most importantly, knowing that Canadians with disabilities across the country have been calling out for years, that organizations like Disability Without Poverty have been doing such critical convening to bring that voice to government. Can the Parliamentary Secretary share when this legislation will be reintroduced in this place? And if not, what more is required to demonstrate how critical it is for exactly that to happen?
The Honourable Parliamentary Secretary.
Mr. Speaker, the member's question is well timed, and I share his urgency on this issue. I can tell you that the Government of Canada has been there for persons with disabilities throughout the pandemic, and we are still there for them. Notre réponse à la pandémie a été formulée en...
Our pandemic response was designed considering people with a disability. We've provided support to seniors and students who are living with a disability.
Time tax-free, non-reportable payment of up to $600 to help persons with disabilities weather the crisis. And since the beginning of this benefit in October 2020 and until December 2021, Service Canada issued payments to 1.75 million individuals for a total value of $815 million. And now we're in the process of mapping out a disability inclusion action plan, which includes financial relief through a Canada Disability Benefit. The benefit has the potential to help hundreds of thousands of working age Canadians with disabilities and their families. I thank the member again for his advocacy and his sense of urgency on behalf of his constituents. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.